Here to talk to you today about the 3 different classes of e-bikes. This is your Class 1 e-bike, and this bike is a bike that is limited to 20 miles per hour. It is only pedal assist, and this bike is permissible on our core trail and all the trails that allow e-bikes here in town. This is the Class 2 e-bike. The Class 2 e-bike differs from the Class 1 e-bike that we just showed you in that this one has a throttle located here on the right-hand side. This bike is also limited to 20 miles per hour. It is permissible on the core trail and the other trails we have around here. They're all limited to 750 watts, both Class 1, Class 2, and Class 3. I'll talk briefly about Class 3. We don't have one here because they aren't permitted on our core trails. Those bikes can go up to 28 miles per hour, and they are not allowed on the trails, the core trail or any other trails here in Steamboat that permit e-bike usage. So moving on from the different classes of e-bikes, let's just talk a little bit about what makes up an e-bike. So an e-bike is just like a normal bike with the addition of a motor and a controller. So you'll see up here at the top we have a controller where I can select the different levels of pedal assist. That's how much energy the motor is going to give me as I'm pedaling. And then we have a battery, which this one is located in the down tube here. Some of them are located, like you saw in the Class 1, back here under the rack. And then we have the actual motor, which is down here on this bike. This is one where it's got a hub motor. And then if you saw on the Class 1, it had a motor right here, right near the cranks. And so those are the 2 different types of motors. Let's talk a little bit about safety features. So each e-bike is going to come with a Class 2 e-bike will have a brake that when you actuate the brake, you're going to disengage the motor so that the motor's not going at the same time as the brake. The Class 1 won't have that because that motor is only going when you're pedaling. Additionally, so that we can be seen and so that we can ride at night, a lot of e-bikes come equipped or can be mounted with a front light and reflector, and then a rear reflector and rear light for visibility. Sort of the last safety feature we want to talk about on this e-bike is just to let people know that you're going to be passing them, for example, on the core trail, and that's the bell, which is located here under the controller. So the first thing I'm going to do before I ride my bike is I'm going to check the tires to make sure that they have an appropriate level of air, because if I don't have aired up tires, that can affect balance and handling. Next, I want to check the brakes. So I want to check the back brake, check the front brake to make sure that I don't have worn pads and that the brake is not touching the handlebar here, and that I have good purchase and a good stopping power when I'm using the brakes. Finally, I want to look at the drivetrain or the chain, and I want to make sure that it's well oiled and lubed, and that it spins freely, and that it's not rusty. And so after a ride on a particularly wet or muddy day, I'm going to want to make sure I sort of lightly rinse down the bike, wipe it dry, and put oil on the chains to keep my drivetrain functioning smoothly. My bike is going to last a lot longer, and I'm going to get a lot more pleasurable use out of it. It will also affect the shifting. If I leave my bike dirty, it's not going to shift nearly as well. And thank you for listening.
The Yampa Valley is a fantastic place to ride a bike, whether you're using it to commute to and from work or school, or you're enjoying the many miles of multi-use trails. Your helmet is the most important piece of gear, and remember, if you are under the age of 16, wearing a helmet is required. Your helmet needs to fit properly, sitting level on top of your head, nice and snug with the straps in a V around your ears. Remember to replace your helmet if dented, damaged, or degenerating. Make sure your clothes and shoes are secured as to not catch in your bike chain. We recommend closed-toed shoes being the most ideal.
All city trails here in Steamboat do allow bikes unless otherwise noted. E-bikes are restricted to specific trails though, so if you're riding an e-bike, please check before you go. 15 mile per hour is the max on all of our trails, and please just go slower when you're passing kids, dogs, and tubers. Find more information at the Parks and Rec website, or you can just pop into our local building here in town. We have a lot of great trails to bike here in Steamboat. Make sure you know before you go, follow proper trail etiquette, and be sure to have a great ride.
So bicyclists are allowed to pass through stop signs as long as they have the right of way and are going a reasonable speed and are also yielding to traffic and other pedestrians at the intersection. Riders 15 years of age or younger are still required to stop at all stop signs unless they're with a parent or guardian.
We want our motoring and biking community to stay safe and follow the rules of the road this summer. Bicyclists, like other vehicles, can be ticketed or penalized. We want to let you know of new regulations that have recently been adopted. The City of Steamboat Springs has approved a mandatory helmet law ordinance that requires children 15 years and younger to wear an appropriate helmet anytime they're riding any type of bicycle in town.
A bicyclist may not proceed through an intersection when the light is red if there's oncoming traffic or pedestrians at the intersection. If a stop is not required, a bicyclist still should slow down and yield to any other traffic or pedestrians in the intersection. Additionally, under Colorado state law, anybody under 16 years of age may not ride a Class 3 e-bike on any streets or highways.
All right, now let's talk about some of the things you need to know when owning an e-bike. First of all, it's important to lock your e-bike up when you're not using it. So locks have different layers or different levels of protection. If you're going to leave your bike for the entire day, you're going to want to lock with a much higher level of protection. Some manufacturers, like Ebike here, will insure your bike from theft if you lock it to a permanently affixed location using an approved lock. Next up, let's talk a little bit about winter riding. When we're riding in the winter, we're going to want to use tires that have studs in them when riding here in Steamboat because we have icy conditions and it can be really dangerous if you hit a patch of ice without studded tires. Another thing we want to consider is dressing in layers because it can get quite cold here in the winter, and so we want to be able to dress appropriately for the conditions. And then the last thing is making sure that we have a warm place to put our hands, and so they make something called pogies for the front of these, which is a big sort of container for your hands that goes around the grips here, and otherwise just a nice warm pair of winter gloves. The reason the pogies are nice is it still allows you to manipulate the controls rather than having a bulky glove on. Let's talk about battery care. This particular battery is integrated in the down tube. It is removable, and so we highly recommend if you're going to store your bike outside that you get a removable battery, because in the winter really cold weather can be detrimental to the battery's life. And so what we're going to want to do is make sure that in the winter time we're taking this battery off and bringing it indoors.